Sometimes the biggest shock of our life doesn't come from strangers, but from the people we trust the most. My life, my job, my dignity, everything changed in a single unexpected moment. That one moment when my boss crossed a line I never imagined he would, and kissed me. A kiss that was not written in love, but in confusion, power, and silence. This is not just a story about an office romance. It's about trust, betrayal, fear, and the courage to fight for what's right. From the very first day, I never thought my office would become the stage of such a storm. When I first joined this job, I was just a simple girl, nervous, excited, and determined to prove myself. But I didn't know that behind the polished walls, beneath the formal suits, there were secrets waiting for me. And one secret, one unexpected act, changed my entire journey. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will make you question, how far would you go for respect, for survival, for your dignity? Comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, like, and share, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The story begins with my very first day at the company. The office was bigger than I ever imagined, filled with shining glass doors, people walking fast, phones ringing, and laptops buzzing with endless work. I was both excited and scared. Everyone told me, be careful. Don't mess with your boss. He's strict, serious, and doesn't tolerate mistakes. My boss, Mr. Kabir, a man everyone admired and feared at the same time. Always in a black suit, hair perfectly styled, eyes sharp like an eagle. He had the power to make or break careers. People whispered about him in the corridors, some respected him, some feared him, but no one dared to cross him. For me, he was just my boss. Nothing more. Or at least, that's what I thought. The first time I entered his cabin, my hands were shaking. I clutched my file tightly, trying not to show my nervousness. He looked up, his piercing eyes scanning me from head to toe. So, you're the new one. His voice was deep, commanding, almost intimidating. Why, yes, sir. I'm here to join as your assistant. I replied, my voice trembling slightly. He didn't smile. He just nodded. Work hard. No excuses. I don't tolerate laziness. That was it. No welcome. No encouragement. Just plain cold professionalism. And I accepted it. After all, I was here to work, not to make friends. Days turned into weeks. I worked hard, often staying late in the office to finish deadlines. Slowly, I began to understand his style. Strict but sharp, cold but effective. He never appreciated, never smiled, but he noticed everything. One day, he called me into his office. My heart skipped a beat. Had I made a mistake? Was he going to fire me? But instead, he said something unexpected. You've been working hard. I notice everything. For the first time, I saw a hint of softness in his tone. I smiled, relieved. Maybe he wasn't as heartless as people said. But what I didn't know was that this was just the beginning. The beginning of something I could never have imagined. The atmosphere in the office began to change. Sometimes, I caught him looking at me for a moment longer than usual. Sometimes, his voice softened when he spoke to me. Sometimes, he would ask me personal questions, where I lived, if I had friends in the city, if I ever felt lonely. At first, I thought it was normal. Maybe he was just being kind. Maybe he trusted me more than others. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, something is different. And then came that day, the day everything changed. That day felt like any other ordinary day. I was buried in files, deadlines choking me, phone calls buzzing on my desk. But life, it never warns you before changing everything. Mr. Kabir had called me into his cabin late in the evening. The office was almost empty, only a few lights still glowing. My colleagues had already left, their laughter echoing faintly in the hallway as they exited. I was tired, but as always, I obeyed his command. I entered his cabin, file in hand. He was standing near the window, city lights reflecting on his face. He looked different, less like a boss, more like a man lost in thought. Sir, you called me. I asked softly. He turned, his eyes locking on mine. There was something unusual in his gaze that night. It wasn't the usual sharp, cold look. It was softer, heavier, almost searching. You've been working late these days, he said. Do you ever get tired? I smiled nervously. It's okay, sir. I like working hard. He stepped closer. I froze. My heartbeat quickened. Why is he coming so close? I thought. You remind me of myself. When I was your age, he whispered, his tone carrying a strange mix of nostalgia and intensity. I forced a small laugh. That's kind of you to say, sir. But before I could step back, before I could make sense of what was happening, it happened. He leaned in, closer, too close. And in that moment, he kissed me. It wasn't planned. It wasn't asked for. It wasn't love. It was sudden, shocking, and deeply confusing. My eyes widened. My body stiffened. I pulled back instantly, my heart pounding in my ears. Sir, what are you doing? My voice trembled. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. Half guilt, half desire, and half something I couldn't even name. I don't know why I did that, he muttered, turning his face away for a second, then back to me. But there's something about you, something I can't ignore. I felt my stomach twist. Fear, anger, confusion, everything mixed inside me. You're my boss. I almost shouted. This isn't right, this can't happen. For a second, silence filled the room. The ticking clock on the wall was the only sound. Then his voice, calm but sharp. Sometimes things don't need to be right, they just happen. I stumbled back, clutching the file to my chest like a shield. No, sir, this is wrong. I can't. He interrupted, his voice lower now. You think I don't see how you look at me? The way you stay late, the way you try so hard, part of you wants this too. Tears welled up in my eyes. His words cut deeper than the act itself. Because it wasn't true. I was dedicated, yes. I was hardworking, yes. But never did I want this. You've misunderstood me, sir, I said, my voice breaking. I respect you as my boss. Nothing else. The atmosphere grew heavy. His jaw tightened. His eyes hardened again. The softness was gone. Fine, he said coldly. But remember, in this office, your career is in my hands. My breath caught. Was that a threat? Was he warning me to stay silent? I walked out of his cabin, my legs trembling. The corridor felt endless. My mind was spinning. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run far away. But I couldn't. Tomorrow, I had to come back. Tomorrow, I had to face him again. And that was the real conflict. Not just the kiss, but the silence that followed it. That night, I didn't sleep. His words echoed in my head. Your career is in my hands. Should I quit? Should I fight back? Should I tell someone? But who would believe me? He was powerful, respected, feared. I was just a newcomer. And worst of all, deep down, I felt guilty, even though I had done nothing wrong. The next morning, when I entered the office, everything felt different. People were the same, work was the same, but inside me, nothing was the same anymore. He walked past me in the corridor. His face was blank, as if nothing had happened. He didn't say a word. Neither did I. But the silence screamed louder than any conversation. Every day after that became a battle between my dignity and my fear, a battle between silence and truth. And little did I know, this was only the beginning. The real storm was yet to come. Days turned into weeks, but the weight of that one moment never left me. Every time I stepped into the office, I felt a storm brewing inside me. To the world, nothing had changed. Colleagues laughed in the cafeteria, deadlines piled on desks. Meetings went on as usual. But for me, each step into the office felt like stepping into a battlefield. I avoided his eyes. I kept conversations short, strictly professional. I thought maybe if I stayed silent, if I ignored what had happened, things would return to normal. But silence doesn't heal wounds. It only deepens them. One evening, when the office was nearly empty again, he called me into his cabin. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't want to go. I wanted to run. But refusing wasn't an option. I walked in clutching my notepad. Stay calm, I told myself. Keep it professional. He was seated at his desk, papers spread around. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine, and for a moment I saw something I couldn't read. Frustration, desire, maybe even guilt. Close the door, he said. I froze. My hands trembled slightly, but I obeyed. The sound of the door shutting felt louder than thunder. You've been avoiding me, he said, leaning back in his chair. Do you think I don't notice? I swallowed hard. I've been busy with work, sir. He smirked faintly. Work or fear? I stayed silent, gripping the notepad tightly. Then he stood up, walking around the desk, coming closer. Listen, He said softly, I don't want you to be scared of me. That night, maybe I lost control. Maybe I crossed the line. But don't pretend you don't feel something too. Tears stung my eyes. Sir, please, don't do this. I came here to work. I respect this job. I respect you. But what you're doing, it's breaking me. His face hardened. Breaking you? Or awakening you? I stepped back, shaking my head. No, you're wrong. The room grew tense. His presence felt overwhelming, pressing down on me. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear my own thoughts. And then, suddenly, the door clicked open. One of my colleagues entered without knocking, holding a file. He froze instantly, sensing the tension in the room. His eyes darted between me and Mr. Kabir. For a moment, the truth was almost visible, hanging in the air like electricity. I'll come back later, my colleague stammered, quickly retreating. The door closed again. Silence returned. But in that silence, something shifted. I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. If someone else had noticed, if rumors began to spread my entire life, my dignity, my career, everything could be shattered. That night, I made a decision. Enough was enough. I couldn't stay silent any longer. The next day, I requested a meeting with HR. My hand shook as I explained everything. My voice cracked, but I didn't stop. I told him about that night, about his words, about the fear that followed me every single day. At first, they looked at me with disbelief. After all, he was Kabir, the man everyone respected, the one who had built this company's reputation. But I didn't let their silence stop me. I poured my heart out, every detail, every wound, every scar. If you can't protect me, I said through tears, then maybe I don't belong here. The HR manager nodded slowly, concern finally showing in her eyes. We'll look into this, she promised. But promises are fragile, and I knew the real battle was only beginning. That evening, when I walked out of the building, I felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because I had spoken the truth. Heavier because now, the war had begun. And little did I know, the escalation that followed would shake not just my world, but the entire foundation of the company. When truth finally leaves your lips, it doesn't just free you, it shakes the walls around you. And that's exactly what happened after my meeting with HR. At first, everything seemed normal. Too normal. Kabir walked through the office like a king, his confidence unshaken, his smile practiced, his authority unquestioned. People still stood up when he entered, still lowered their eyes when he passed. But beneath the surface, whispers had begun. Silent glances, half-spoken rumors, shadows of doubt. It started with small things. Colleagues who once smiled at me in the cafeteria now avoided eye contact. A few whispered behind my back when I walked past. Laughter that once felt warm now sounded sharp, like knives cutting through the air. One evening, I overheard two colleagues. She's making it up, one said. Of course. Why would Kabir do something like that? He has everything. Power, money, respect. Why would he risk it all? Their words burned. People didn't see the truth. They saw the version of reality that was easiest for them to believe. And believing me was not easy. The HR inquiry. HR called me again. They asked me to recount everything in detail. Each word I spoke felt like ripping open a wound. They scribbled notes, nodded, exchanged glances. Do you have proof? They asked. Proof. As if dignity needs evidence. As if fear leaves fingerprints. No, I whispered. But I know what happened. I know what he did. Their silence was heavier than words. I knew what they were thinking. Her words against his power. And still, I didn't give up. I couldn't. Kabir's counterattack. It didn't take long for Kabir to make his move. One morning, I arrived to find an email forwarded across departments. It was a carefully crafted message from him, praising my work, but also subtly questioning my behavior. Sometimes dedication is misinterpreted. Sometimes people cross boundaries in the name of ambition. The email read. The words weren't direct, but they didn't need to be. Everyone understood what he was implying. That I was the one who wanted something more. That I was the one blurring the lines. Whispers grew louder. My colleagues looked at me differently. Some with pity, some with suspicion, some with outright judgment. It felt like the ground was slipping beneath me. The breaking point. One night, I stayed back late, trying to finish a project. The office was nearly empty. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should drop this, or you'll regret it. My hand shook. My breath caught. I looked around, but the corridors were silent, empty, cold. For the first time, I realized the danger wasn't just emotional. It was real. Kabir wasn't just a man. He was power, and power protects itself at any cost. I cried that night, silently, bitterly, alone at my desk. My tears blurred the documents in front of me. My dreams of a bright career felt shattered. But then, deep inside, another voice rose. If you give up now, they win. If you stay silent now, your story will be buried. And maybe, so will the voices of countless others who are afraid to speak. That night, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't let this break me. Not anymore. The turning tide. The next day, I walked into the office with my head high. My fear hadn't vanished, but my resolve had grown stronger. I started documenting everything. Every late-night meeting. Every word he said. Every message. Every glance. I built my own silent file. A shield of truth against his power. And, slowly, something unexpected happened. One by one, whispers began to change. A colleague quietly approached me in the cafeteria. You're not the only one, she whispered, her eyes filled with fear. Another woman from a different department messaged me late at night. I know what he's capable of. I've seen it too. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. The battle wasn't just mine anymore. It was ours. But Kabir wasn't going down quietly. He tightened the pressure. He raised my workload. He criticized my smallest mistakes in front of others. He tried to break me piece by piece. And still I stood, bruised but not broken, shaken but not silent. Because the truth is this. When you've already lost your peace, when your dignity has already been scarred, fear has nothing left to steal. That was the escalation. The storm growing louder, the walls closing in, the battle no longer hidden in shadows. And I knew the resolution was near. Life is strange. Sometimes the biggest battles we fight aren't outside. They're within us. The fight between silence and truth. The fight between fear and courage. My story was not just about an unwanted kiss. It was about power. About the thin line between respect and exploitation. About how easy it is for people to doubt the weak, and how hard it is for truth to find its voice. But if there's one thing I learned, it is this. Silence protects no one. Not the victim. Not the truth. Not even dignity. The day I chose to speak, my world shook, yes. People judged me, doubted me, whispered about me. But the same day, my silence lost its grip. My voice finally became mine again. And that's the message I want to leave with you. Back-end index pointing right. If you've ever felt trapped, cornered, broken by someone's power, remember, you are not alone. Backhand index pointing right. If you've ever doubted your worth because of someone else's actions, remember, your dignity is priceless. Backhand index pointing right. If you've ever stayed silent because you thought nobody would believe you, remember, the first person who needs to believe you is yourself. I'm not saying it will be easy. Truth never is, but it is always worth it. Because at the end of the day, careers can be rebuilt. Reputations can be restored. But dignity, once lost in silence, is the hardest to reclaim. So to everyone listening right now, speech balloon, tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed silent or spoken up, knowing the risks? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your words might become someone else's courage. And if my story touched your heart, if it made you think, if it made you feel, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Because sometimes a story doesn't just change one life. It changes many.